Okay, so are we ready for a speaker? Yeah, that was nice. Very nice. So, carrying on with Darren's legacy, actually, and I have the privilege of having had a chat with Sam about her connection to Darren, and it's an interesting one because actually it was Darren that introduced her to her now husband, and it wasn't always plain sailing, but Darren saw that. So yeah, really, really interesting connections there. Sam Hunter, she is the founder of the Natural Born Thinkers, and she's also an author, and she's going to tell a little bit of her story, her connection with Darren, and also a bit about the book that she has written. I'm really excited for you to hear from her. Are we ready? Yeah, come on!
Okay. Did you know that lobsters have to physically molt out of their shell to grow? It's a highly physical process. It's painful, and they literally wrestle to take away their old skin and wait vulnerably as flesh as they wait for the new skin to grow and harden. I didn't notice at all until I saw a video that Darren had posted. And he used this natural story as a metaphor to highlight that in order to live our life less ordinary, we have to be prepared to come out of our shell. We have to be prepared to go through a journey of self-transformation. And you know what? It's not easy. So I'd like you to take a minute now to think about a moment of change perhaps you've gone through in your life. Was it easy? Or on some level, can you identify with a lobster going through that messy process of disentangling yourself from your past to be able to step into the future that you would like? I know that I've had my lobster moments, and I suppose my biggest was when I had to transition out of my aspiration to be an Olympic swimmer, when I discovered that, helpfully, I was allergic to chlorine. I then had to imagine a life in a corporate world, which at the time did not appear to be such a sexy choice. However, as I reflected on this time in my life, and as I reflected on how might we preserve Darren's legacy of living a life less ordinary, I was inspired to write a book. So I did. So this book is for children predominantly, but there are lessons for adults to learn too, which we'll get to. And it's designed to help children recognize that change is just a part of life. It's something we all have to go through. And the more that we can face it head on and learn how to do this, the closer we can get towards living our life less ordinary. So, should we look at the book? So here she is. It's called Lulu Comes Out of Her Shell. And obviously, Lulu is a lobster. She's a reef lobster, that's why she's pink. Lulu is a lobster, but she's not just any lobster. Lulu is a lobster with a dream. She wants to become a dancing sensation and win at the Shall We Dance contest. But the morning of her audition, she wakes up and she's got a niggle in her knee. It doesn't feel right. In fact, everything's starting to feel very uncomfortable. And the closer she gets to the dance hall, the tighter everything now feels. Literally, as she gets to the dance floor, she feels as though she's wearing a pair of shoes that are 10 times too small for her. The idea of moving on stage, let alone doing a pirouette, seems to now be an impossible concept. So she stands on stage. A hush falls across the dance floor. Eyes start to roll. She feels like a fish in a very small bowl. And as she stands there, she doesn't quite know what to do until gratefully a pretty cranky octopus tells her, "Lulu, your shell's too small. Please come back when it's grown." Somehow, in deep embarrassment, she hobbles off stage. She kicks at the sand, feeling that she's blown it. But then she hears her mother's voice. And her mum says, "Lulu, to dance again well, you have to be brave and come out of your shell." Now, this is exactly what Lulu didn't want to hear, because this is Lulu's idea of a worst nightmare. And she shares this with her mum. She says, "Mummy, but if I take off my shell off, I'm nude. I'll be eaten. someone might come and eat me. And to a degree, I can identify with Lulu, because I believe that a lobster without a shell on is a tasty snack, not just necessarily in the sea world. However, was she going to let her greatest fear get in the way of her change? No. She accepted something needed to change, but as all children do, she felt she had a better idea to her mother's advice. And she decided to try anything else than take off her shell. And ultimately, it ended in calamity, and Lulu hit rock bottom. Again, not a tricky thing for a lobster to do, given they live on a seabed. And in her moment of despair, she sees something strange. She sees hermit crabs having a fashion show, who are liberally swapping in and swapping out of shells, coming out of what they've outgrown and stepping liberally into the unknown. They are fearless and they are fabulous, and Lulu is inspired. So she goes and she takes off her shell. She grows a new one, which shimmers in the light, and she storms onto the dance floor, and she dances in a way that she never has before. And this time she gets 10s all round, and obviously 10s from an octopus, so she got a lot there. So Lulu took off her shell, and she was able to achieve the beginning of living her life less ordinary. And yes, this is a children's story. So what's it got to do with us all sitting here today at the MOE conference? Well, actually, I think there are some key lessons that we can be reminded of too in Lulu's experience. The first is change is a certainty. It's going to happen to us all, often at the most unwanted, unexpected moments. And the worst thing we can do when that happens is run and pretend it's not happening. There has to be a moment of acceptance, because this is the turning point. Lulu definitely had her moments of acceptance. And if I reflect also now on my journey as a swimmer, I too had my moment of acceptance, but I ran a bit first. I had been winning World Cup medals, I had national records, my trajectory was good, but all of a sudden I started to swim really badly. And we didn't really stop to question why, we just kept on swimming. So inevitably, I got slower and slower, the career petered out, and I quit. And this was incredibly painful for everybody involved. So months elapsed, and I went to university, and I actually went back to the pool, because remember, this is my shell, this is what I knew. And it was here that someone actually had the idea, perhaps maybe we should do a health assessment. Good idea. And this is where I learned that I was incredibly allergic to chlorine. I had an operation to try and improve things, but alas, swimming was out for me. And at this moment, I hit acceptance. Now, I'd love to say that I handled this moment really, really well. But often with change comes emotion and fears. And this brings me to my next lesson, which is change is scary, but the worst thing you can do is hold those fears into yourself. You need to voice them and share them with others, because as you do that, they might help just give you a perspective that you hadn't seen before. Now, in Lulu's case, her mother helped her. And admittedly, my fear isn't as grave as being eaten, but my fear was that I would never feel the potential that I had lost in the pool. Now, fears aren't often rational, and I was only 21 at the time. But I shared this fear with my husband, and he helped me to reframe it as a motivator, to say, fine, your gold medal's gone in the pool, but what does your gold medal moments look outside of it? And it was in that moment I recognized that gold medal moments are made. They're not given. They're the tireless pursuit towards a dream and an ambition and an unwavering commitment and hard work to get there. And you can have those moments in the context and the worlds that you live in. Since swimming, I've married my soulmate. I have 2 wonderful children. I've become a writer. I have a podcast. I run my own business. And all of these mean the world to me. Yet, gold medal moments at the time of change are a long way in the distance. You don't know if they're going to come, and you don't know when. And that's scary. And this therefore brings me to the third lesson, which is that's scary, but equally walking away from what you know, your past, what your comfort zone is equally as scary and hard. And I think, again, we can look to lobsters for inspiration here, because when a lobster molts, they literally walk away from their past skeleton, but they still have their insides. They're still a lobster. They didn't change into something else. And I think that's also the same for us, because sometimes in moments of change, we have to walk away from an environment we know, a condition that we know. And the good news is that we still get to walk away with our insides. We still have our heart and our mind, the skills, the capabilities, the experiences that we have, and we get to take those with us. And we might just find that the new environment we walk into, that those skills are going to be even better than they were in the past. For example, since leaving the swimming pool, I've learned I'm incredibly creative. I can go into flow state at a moment's notice, because frankly, 4 hours in a pool, your brain has to go somewhere. And I'm also incredibly competitive, which a lot of people don't necessarily enjoy. But in the swimming pool, creativity, I wasn't a synchronized swimmer, so you could argue that was a pretty useless skill there. And being competitive was par for the course if I wanted to win. However, outside of the swimming world, being creative is my edge. Being competitive is also quite helpful, I find, at times, and the commitment to wanting to get to where I go. So that was a key lesson for me there. But unfortunately, none of this happened quickly, and maybe that's part of the game. And this brings me to my next and final lesson, is that change takes time. It's a journey. And during that journey, you need to keep open-minded and look for the light and curiously consider what might be next, because there will be times where you feel hope is gone. You will perhaps find moments of darkness, and Lulu found her moments of darkness. And unfortunately, I also found a rock bottom around the age of 24. But fortunately, at that age, I met Darren. And Darren was my light and curiosity at this time, because this is when he introduced me to the idea that I could live my life less ordinary. And he showed me all the people out there that were already doing it. He showed me my version of a hermit crab fashion show. So I think we can see that, like lobsters, we're designed to grow. And it's up to us as adults, when physical growth has stopped, whether we're going to rise to the moments that make us. So having a life less ordinary gives us purpose. It helps guide our choices, and it helps us ultimately to go where we might go. And if we're really lucky, we'll make it. If not, I think we'll find that doors open that we'd never considered, and we'll live a life less obvious. So I really apologise. So today, here, I would invite you all to come out of your shell, because at the heart of MOE is a mother's love, that unconditional, wavering support to help you become your best and to live your dream. I'm so sorry. So please share your dreams today. You might just find someone who helps make it come true.
Well done, Sam. Well done, Sam. That was absolutely amazing. Thank you for that profound and emotional talk. And, you know, just from looking at the audience, I can see that that talk has hit many people for many different reasons. And that was the perfect way to be able to open up this movement conference. So thank you very much. You know, many analogies there and many life lessons taken from coming out your shell. Lulu comes out of her shell. And I know I'm certainly going to get that book for my daughter. I know we've got copies available, so whoever wants to support Sam and the message, please get copies of a book. 50% of all purchases of Lulu Comes Out of Her Shell goes to the MOE Foundation, and Sam's supporting that vision. And one of the things I love about Lulu is she's pink. And I think that's I think that's quite important today. There's been some wonderful people who've commented on my nice pink jumper. But what I want to say is it's not pink, it's peach, or I've had a few people say salmon. So I'll take peach, I'll take salmon, but it is not pink. Lulu is pink, right?